What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to Sportskeeda MMA News. Islam Makhachev doesn't think former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira is too keen on picking a fight with him. Tony Ferguson wants to coach the Ultimate Fighter with his nemesis Khabib Nurmagomedov. Dustin Poirier makes it clear that he wants to fight Colby Covington next, and no, not outside a steakhouse. UFC heavyweight legend Cain Velasquez is denied bail yet again. And Michael Johnson feels a new fire for fighting after his recent knockout. All this and more on today's edition of Sportskeeda MMA News. If you see any of your favorite fighters mentioned in today's video, make sure to blast that like button. Let's get started. The number 4 ranked lightweight in the world has something to say to the former champion of his division. Islam Makhachev recently spoke to Brett Okamoto about his future in the UFC. And he only has gold in his sights, but not if Charles Oliveira ducks him. Makhachev spoke about his desire to fight Oliveira for the belt next, but expects him to target other high-value matchups instead. Here's what Makhachev had to say. Nate Diaz or Connor says, let's do it in September. He, Charles Oliveira, is gonna fight in September too. He just runs, because his grappling and other skills won't work on me. Poirier or Chandler or all these guys have good striking, but nobody, when they drop him down, nobody wants to grapple with him. Nobody holds him there. But we know when someone gives him a hard time, he always gives up. I'm gonna take him down, I'm gonna make him tired, and he's gonna give up like he did it 10 times in the UFC already. It seems like Makhachev is reviving the narrative established by Justin Gaethje that Oliveira is a bona fide quitter, but that didn't seem the case when Oliveira steamrolled Gaethje faster than even the great Khabib Nurmagomedov. The 22-1 Islam Makhachev might very well be next in line to fight for the lightweight strap, especially when MMA icons Joe Rogan and Khabib are openly telling Uncle Dana to book that fight. He is coming off 4 consecutive victories, most recently over Dan Hooker and Bobby Green, both on short notice. Meanwhile, the 33-8 Charles Oliveira illuminated his career by earning an 11-fight win streak and UFC gold on his way to threatening Khabib for lightweight GOAT status. And although he lost the belt due to a weigh-in miss of a half-pound, Oliveira is still the champ in many fans' eyes. After dispatching Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, and Justin Gaethje within 12 months, how can you deny this man? Do you think Charles Oliveira will duck Islam? Leave a comment down below and you might be featured in tomorrow's video. Tony Ferguson is the type of guy to give his opponent corner advice unless his opponent is Khabib Nurmagomedov. After feeling the full wrath of Michael Chandler's foot on his chin back at UFC 274, Ferguson has been much more active in the media. From swaths of social media posts to explaining his recent career skid on interviews, it seems like El Cucuy is doing his best to quell any rumors of his retirement. But one thing that's always constant is his desire to compete against Khabib, and according to Tony, it doesn't even have to be in the octagon. Here's what Tony Ferguson said recently to Submission Radio. Khabib is still fat anyway. Maybe one day, you know what I would like to do? I'd love to coach against him in the Ultimate Fighter. That's what I'd really love to do. Absolutely. If we don't fight, I'd love to be able to compete against him in whatever. Wrestling, basketball, soccer, you put your best team together and I'll pick mine. Any kind of sport, you can pick at Khabib and I'll kick your At the end of the day, his dad said he'd love to see us compete regardless of if that's MMA. It doesn't matter. Tony was scheduled to face Khabib an astounding 5 times before the fight was deemed an urban legend by MMA fans. Unfortunately, injuries on both sides and the advent of COVID had much to do with this dream fight being only a dream. The 26-7 Ferguson is not the same man who destroyed 12 fighters en route to UFC lightweight supremacy, but his first round against Michael Chandler showed glimpses of his greatness before the brutal KO. It's no secret that at this point the 29-0 Khabib has no interest in putting his legacy at stake against a man he doesn't even deem worthy to grace the octagon. Do you think Tony and Khabib will ever squash their beef? How many times does Dustin Poirier have to beg for a fight before Uncle Dana does something about it? Well, now Poirier is punching above his weight class and targeting the victim of a steakhouse sneak attack. Recently, Poirier spoke to Ariel Helwani about what his future might hold, but above all else, he just wants to remove the sour taste in his mouth from getting submitted twice in 2 title fights. Now Poirier has his eyes set on Colby Covington, the number 1 ranked welterweight, and yes, it's personal. Here's what Poirier had to say.
I don't hate anyone, Ariel. But if there was a line right before hate, Colby's standing there. I really dislike the guy, and I've been saying, and I don't want him to make $1 off of fighting me. They offered me him last week. That's why. It was either wait to the end of the year and fight, for a number 1 contender lightweight, or fight July against him, and that was the name that they gave me. So I'm like, He's everything I dislike about mixed martial arts. You know, he's a cartoon character. Everything he does is for an extra click, view. None of it's authentic. He can wrestle. He's tough. I've been around him for years. I know him from being around in the gym with him, you know, since 2012, 2013-ish. But he's just a fake, a phony, you know.
Harsh words from the man who used to train with Colby at American Top Team for years, but we all know how Colby's former teammates feel about him. The 28-7 Poirier still itches for UFC gold, even if that means leaving the weight class he's been on the top of for years. While Poirier is 2-1 against Conor McGregor, he's had some problems keeping up with the grappling acumen of former champs Khabib Nurmagomedov and most recently Charles Oliveira. The 17-3 Covington publicly called out Poirier after disposing of former teammate and bitter rival Jorge Masvidal, the man who ambushed him outside Papi's Steak after his fight at UFC 272. At least Poirier and Covington can settle the score as to who is the most impressive title fight loser. Does Colby Covington accept that fight? Yesterday, we reported that Cain Velasquez's lawyer, Mike Gerardos, was hopeful that Velasquez would make bail. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Velasquez has been denied bail again by Judge Shalina Brown during his ongoing court case on attempted premeditated murder charges. These charges are obviously connected to Velasquez targeting Harry Goularte with a .40 caliber handgun, the man accused of molesting a close relative of Velasquez. During the hearing, the stepfather of Goularte, Paul Bender, who had allegedly been hit with one of Velasquez's bullets during the incident, had this to say about Velasquez. Cain Velasquez has no respect for human life. He does not care about the rule of law. If given the opportunity, I think he will try to finish what he started. Judge Brown seemed to echo Bender's sentiments and had this to say. This was such a reckless disregard for human life. In this case, it is not just Mr. Goularte and his family, it is every single citizen who was in danger of being shot or rammed with the vehicle at the time of this 7-mile chase. So this court is not only thinking of Mr. Goularte and his family, but this court is considering every single citizen in Santa Clara County who was in the proximity to this alleged incident. The next stage of Velasquez's legal process will be a formal plea hearing scheduled to take place on June 10th. If convicted of all charges, the former two-time UFC heavyweight champion may potentially face 20 years to life in prison. Do you think Velasquez has any chance of a release? While you're still here, subscribe to Sportskeeda MMA and hit that bell. And last but not least, one of the most interesting fighters in UFC history finally got back in the win column in a brutal way. Former top lightweight Michael Johnson returned to the octagon with a giant chip on his shoulder. After a 4-fight skid and only winning 2 fights in the last 6 years, Johnson stunned MMA fans by putting Alan Patrick to sleep on Saturday's main card. The 21-17 Johnson is quite often critiqued as one of the most inconsistent fighters in UFC history, holding wins over Tony Ferguson, Edson Barboza, and Dustin Poirier while suffering losses to Clay Guida and Darren Elkins. Recently, Johnson felt inspired by seeing the people he once defeated still hovering at the top of the division. Here's what he had to say. I think a lot of people have overlooked me. A lot of people don't realize what I've done in this sport, who I fought, who I've shared the cage with, and what they've done after I fought them. I mean, Tony Ferguson went on to win 20 fights in a row after I beat him, Dustin Poirier went on to become a champion, a dominant champion after I knocked him out. And to see them succeed just makes me want to push harder. Do you think Michael Johnson has what it takes for a career resurgence? That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA news. Here are some of the best comments from today. Islam talks too much. I've got Oliveira taking him. Get Cain out of jail and back home. Poirier a dominant champ? Lol. If you like this video, please like, comment, and share. Your comments could be featured in the next Sportskeeda MMA news video. We always deliver daily content, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out on anything going on in the MMA world. For updates, quotes, and exclusive interviews from all your favorite fighters, follow Sportskeeda MMA on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for tuning in.